to go back in time because they are opening the archives to look at old shows, old movies, old pop culture things to see if they stand the test of time. This is Rewind with your hosts, Brian Austin Green and Pete Ferriero.
All right, here we are.
Here we are.
Episode 1.
This is a brand new show we're bringing to you. And the concept of this show is that we go back and we watch TV shows and films that either one of us loved, have never seen, and we talk about them, and we sort of bring people up to date on them, and we bring ourselves up to date on them, and we see if they withstand the test of time.
Dude, and what
And
I
there's
love,
so much.
There's so much stuff that I have never seen where I'm like, holy shit, how I've never seen
this. And this is a reason. This sucks you into doing it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this whole thing, we'll be going on the Moviac app,
Yes.
which you can download at the Apple Store or the Android Store, and you can create a profile, and you can go see our profiles, and you can see what it is we've seen. We'll be rating it, we'll be reviewing it, and we'll be opening up forums to talk about it.
And the exciting thing is every week we're at a bar.
We're at a bar, we're getting beers.
Yeah, we're cheers.
I've got. I love that little tiny one,
Yeah.
and I've got the Hobbit size one.
But right now we're at
Numero Uno Tavern.
Numero Uno Tavern. Yeah.
Good for what ails you. I love that.
mean-
We want to thank Rich, who's allowing us to sit here and do this.
And they have so many craft beers. The pizzas are incredible. The food is awesome. So like, come out here.
Numero Uno Tavern.
This
Please
is just
come
the start
support.
of like an amazing ride with this thing. We're gonna do in-person ones. We're gonna do live
Yeah.
versions. We want to hear your opinions on all this
Yes.
stuff. So why don't we just jump right into
Let's
the
jump
first
into
one?
it. So the first one we're going to do, because it's the holiday season, and I know this has been one of those like age-old questions. Honestly, is this a Christmas movie or is it not? We're going Die Hard.
Welcome to the party, pal!
I've been watching it for the past few days, few nights. Pete
I
just
have
wa-
never seen it.
Pete had never
I have
seen
never
it.
seen Die Hard. No.
Dude, I cannot believe you never saw Die
Okay,
Hard.
I've seen all the all the clips.
Okay, you've seen all the clips.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Right,
I've seen
okay,
that.
so you've seen all the famous parts of it.
But I don't know what the context of
Right,
any
exactly.
of that is.
Dude, and that was Alan Rickman, who ended up, he was Snape in all of the Harry
Oh,
Potter
wow.
films.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This was his big start. Like, this was his big film.
Let's go to this movie.
Okay.
Let's start on the debate. Is it a Christmas movie?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It depends on what your definition of a Christmas movie is. Is your definition a film that the main story, the plot of it is Christmas? Because then we get into the debate of like, is Elf a Christmas movie? Because it's about elves that make Christmas
Sure.
things, but it's not necessarily about Christmas. It's about an elf traveling back to the city to find his dad and all of that.
Right.
So Die Hard takes place during Christmas.
Totally. Christmas party.
It's a Christmas party.
Yeah. Office Christmas party.
Yes. At Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes. It was Bruce's first big foray into film from moonlighting.
Which I also never have seen. A single episode.
Okay, so that we're gonna have to get into
Have
moonlighting.
you seen a single episode of
I
Moonlight?
have. I used to
Okay.
watch Moonlighting all the time because
Okay.
he and Sybil Shepherd were
And I
amazing
love
in that.
her.
They were
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fantastic. in that show.
Okay, so there's a few things about this movie that initially when I was looking, I was like, does this hold up? Like when you first get into the movie, some of the old school computers, like if you showed that to a young kid today, they'd be like, why are they fucking green?
Right.
Like what is MS
Wait,
DOS?
why is there a cord on that cell phone that's in the back of a limo? Like who?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't see limos anymore.
Right.
They're like, with the
exactly.
divider and the whole, like
No.
that doesn't exist ananymore. You
Yeah,
have
like, what's
town
that?
cars and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and you don't, and the guy's like, it's got DVD and it's got, you
Yeah.
know, it's got, or no, not TV, it's got a CD player in
All
it.
that.
It's got
But like
a
the
tube
computers
TV.
are like fucking
it's not,
computer screens are green. You know, remember that old school before like
They're-
the old
yes.
computer DOS.
DOS, yeah.
So it's DOS computers,
Yeah.
and they're able to do all this. Like the fucking bad guys come in and take over this building.
Yeah.
Right.
Easily. There's literally no firewall to it. They just jump right into the system because
And
DOS
but
is
they're-
universal.
But they're shutting shit off in a way where you're like, right now you'd be like, hey Google, can you turn off my, or hey Amazon, or whatever.
DOS is universal at that point.
Yeah.
Like you could have a guy faking being the head security in a building.
Totally.
Sit behind the thing, get into every camera that is there, lock down every door, roll all the security gates down, do all the stuff.
But I feel like this is somewhere where people will be like a young person, if they were watching it, they might be like, I don't understand why they're doing any of that. They just cut the phone lines.
Right.
Like,
which
what's
is
the
why
phone
we
line,
don't
you
we
know?
don't like young people, right? I mean, isn't that I think we should start by clearly saying we don't like young people.
We don't like young people. We don't like their thoughts about
No.
anything. We don't want them to have
We don't
any
like
input.
we don't like young people. We don't like old people, and we don't like pets. So, you know, I don't know. Does that make us the enemy? Maybe.
It might. All right. So I think, couldn't you argue that Home Alone is as much as an action movie as
Absolutely, you could.
two bad guys come in and they're going to essentially rob
He's
Kevin
locking down the
McCall.
house, right? It has nothing. It has nothing to. The whole thing ends on Christmas.
Sure.
It's like it's Christmas morning.
Sure.
Great.
But the idea that there's an action sequence of two bad guys and this little kid like taking them to town, isn't it sort of okay? I know there's three.
That was my point.
There's 3 murders in Die Hard, like in 30 minutes.
No, I think there's more than I.
Yeah,
I think,
and right,
like,
right out the gate though, there's
Yeah.
people are being killed.
Oh,
people
yeah.
are gonna be shot. You know,
Yeah.
so that's a little different than Home Alone.
Yeah.
So maybe this is an adult Christmas movie.
It's an adult. Yeah, it's a weird genre. It's a holiday action thriller.
But the more I started thinking about it, all of the Christmas movies that we view as Christmas movies have some sort of action sequence. Even Christmas Vacation has a whole debacle with the squirrel. I mean, again,
The Grinch.
robbing the guy, taking the guy out of his house,
Right.
kidnapping him. Cousin
Right.
Eddie kidnaps him. The
Right.
police come in at the end of the movie, and there's a whole.
Right, for sure.
So it's like
Yeah, no,
what-
it's what is your definition of a Christmas movie? Like, is it one that only the plot is about Christmas, or is it the it happens to happen during Christmas? Like, it's
there's crazy shit that's going down
knows?
during Christmas.
Right.
And like it's totally plausible that there would be a Christmas party. You've gone to many of those.
oh my God, yeah, for
Right?
sure.
And it's like there's a big Christmas party and somebody does this at this company party. And that there is a hero cop at the party that happens to be going through it feels like it's a divorce, right? Like it's like
He's going through a divorce.
With
Yeah,
the-
he's got a child. He's got like the
right.
whole thing. So he goes to her office. Her office now, her name is her maiden name and not his, you know.
Now, when I saw that, I was immediately infuriated. I don't even know why I took it personally, but I was like,
Why?
Why would she do this to him on Christmas? I mean, I'm sure she did it a couple of months prior.
Gennaro, I would assume she was using for the majority of time that she was at that job because so the story is he was a New York cop.
Right.
He stayed in New York.
Yeah.
She was in Los Angeles
Yeah.
for her job. You know, she had a higher up position at her place. So that I think the separation then happened at that point.
Yeah.
So when she started the new job in Los Angeles, she was using Gennaro instead of McClane.
Yeah, but he just finds out about this when he gets to town.
Of course he does.
You wouldn't
because
be
it's
like,
his first
total
time
fucking
ever
shock.
coming to town.
You wouldn't be like, this is new information.
When you walk in and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I need Mrs. McClane's, and it's like it's under Gennaro and the whole thing.
Right.
It's,
And you're like, fuck that. Like, I mean, that's what my feeling was. How can you do this to Bruce Willis? How can you do this to John McClane right before the holidays? I mean, I'm sure it happened, but he's just.
he got her a big teddy bear and everything.
Right, he came in like.
He came in guns
to save
blazing.
the
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Oh, he was.
You know,
He wasn't there
romantic
to like
hero.
fight bad guys in a tower.
No.
He was there to save his marriage.
Okay, but that suddenly happens, right? And there's so much that happens in the beginning of the movie where you're like, holy shit, like, is Bruce... First off, this movie is amazing, by the way.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's
and
so good.
It's so well directed.
It's so understandable why that movie created a movie star.
Totally. And,
Because
and
Bruce
like
was fantastic. Like as an actor, you know, when you're on a set and you're making a film and you're making it all out of order and you're trying to like keep the intensity and the stuff there, I was watching that and I was like, man, knowing how out of order that must have been shot, he did such a good job of that story being consistent all the way through. In the scenes with him and Reginald when he was talking to, you know, hey pal, what's going on down there? But you know, and he's keeping that level of intensity going all the way through it. And
Totally.
believably.
And he's basically
hats off to him,
acting
man.
by himself.
I know.
You know what I
through
mean? Like,
majority of the film. He only had a couple scenes with people.
right. It's all kind of him, and then the other times he's just killing people, like action sequences.
He had a couple fight, and they had like big, like highly choreographed fight scenes.
Yeah, and he's okay. So
They were not simple. They're
I
on
think
like
you
rolling
can
carts,
relate
and
to
there's
this,
you know
like-
they're throwing people into barrels and all sorts of stuff.
you're an actor from a television show, and
Right.
in this era,
Yeah.
it was like I don't think people, maybe younger people or people understand, like it was a leap for you to be like, for Bruce Willis to be in Die Hard.
I don't know what the budget was
Yeah.
in that film. I can only assume that it was a pretty good sized budget because they took over that building.
Oh,
which
totally.
is, by the way, that building it's right off of the Fox lot.
Yeah, you
it's-
could totally
Gate
go see
1
it.
goes through, or Gate 3 goes through the back of that parking
Yeah.
complex.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all right there.
But you've made that leap from TV to movies, right?
Right.
I mean,
Not on the
And that-
scale that Bruce did.
I know,
man.
but in that era, that was a huge thing for Bruce Willis to do.
Huge. But he was so and we'll get into Moonlighting, of course,
Yeah.
more as we make that an episode.
Yeah.
He was so charismatic and he was so in control of who he was and what he portrayed on camera.
Mm.
Like you watch the show and then you watch the movie and you go, that is the most natural leap ever.
Sure.
Because he was that guy on the show, which is what made Moonlighting such a good show. You watched him and you were like, this guy, I love watching this guy.
Totally.
He's engaging, he's charming, he's good looking.
Yeah.
He was in amazing shape. Dude, he was in amazing shape when he did Die Hard. Like he was
And-
in a tank, he was in a wife beater for half of that film, and then he was shirtless for half of it. And he's just like, he was shredded and he was all greased up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like he was covering all the bases with
He
that.
does this really cool thing too, where like so much of what we're listening to is like his inner monologue of like,
And he's playful and fun.
yeah, like
He
and
doesn't
like
take himself super seriously. Like,
at
you
all.
know,
Like he's like, you know, he's constantly saying things that
suck
you-
this one, pal. He's like throwing the chair down the elevator shaft
And
to
like
explode
I didn't
and all
realize how much of our like wording or like the things that we say like in our culture comes from this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's even a moment when Bruce Willis is like he's gonna throw a bomb down
Down the elevator
the
shaft.
shaft.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck it.
Fuck it.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I say fuck it all the time.
time.
And I'm like, did that come from Bruce Willis?
I don't
saying-
think it came from it, but
But
there
like,
is.
it triggered probably people starting to say that again
Yeah.
because that movie was so successful
Yeah.
in that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
and
he's
I
so like.
I was on the phone with someone the other day who was like, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," and I'm like,
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
like,
And then
it's-
you watch the movie and you were like, okay, now I want to start saying yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I kind of want to say it all
And
the
this
time.
movie's like 30 years old.
Even if it's not relevant to a moment, like if I'm eating pizza, I want to just be like, "Oh, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" Like, but
Yeah.
so what I didn't understand is like it's a reference to Roy Rogers.
Meanwhile, Pete has literally been saying yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker all morning to everyone. He gets a beer and he's like, oh, yippee-ki-yay,
He's like,
motherfucker.
"Yippee-ki-yay,
You know, like
motherfucker."
it's thank
Yeah.
you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a Roy Rogers reference, which I don't know that I was aware of.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah, I watched also, which was really helpful.
Wait, but Roy Rogers didn't say motherfucker.
no,
he just said
the writer
yippee-ki-yay.
added that, or Bruce Willis added the motherfucker to
Right,
it. Yeah,
right.
But like they're talking about the show Roy Rogers, is that a show?
No, he was an actor, Roy Rogers.
I've clearly never seen
You're
one
the
episode.
perfect guy to have on this show.
I've never seen one episode of Roy Rogers. No.
Okay.
But what is that show?
He did a bunch of things. He was a movie guy
Howdy
also.
is that something else? Howdy Doody Time? Is that something
Yes,
else?
that was
Okay.
something.
Whatever the Roy Rogers show is, from what I
I
understand,
would like to apologize formally.
to the whole family, the Roy Rogers family.
Right.
But they're talking
the
about
Roy Rogers estate. I would like to personally apologize.
They're
for
talking about Roy Rogers, and that's why he says yippee-ki-yay.
Yes.
And I think it's, from what I saw in the movies that made us Die Hard,
did you watch that
I
show
watched
that-
it, yeah,
on Netflix?
It's so good.
So good.
But initially in the script, it was yippee-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then Bruce changed it to yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Okay.
Ki-yay works so much better than
So
yaye.
much better. Yeah.
Maybe it's just because we've heard of that.
Right. If you've only heard yippee yi then you'd be like Kaye. It's not Kaye. It's
All right.
yay.
So in the movie, shit starts to really go off the hook, right? Like the bad guys have now taken over. But so he is so badass, and he is literally now it's him versus what 9 to 10 bad guys.
I think it started as like 13.
Yeah.
And because then the Reginald, when he's down with the guy who was the principal in the Breakfast Club, we talked about that before. He says, thanks to this guy, instead of there being 13 guys, there are now only like 9 or whatever that are left. Like he's, he's.
By the way, the principal in the Breakfast Club, and
you mess with the bull, you get the horns. That
like,
guy, and
dude,
he's got the toilet paper hanging out the back of his.
Every movie that he's in, he plays
so
this
good.
this kind of guy.
He's a dick.
He's a dick, and he's clueless.
Yeah.
Right. Like literally, he comes in so hot in that scene, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like as a viewer of the first
Die
time,
Hard, watching it, it's amazing how many people were in that film.
Totally.
And you go, man, they went on to have amazing careers. Like the news reporter was the mayor in Ghostbusters.
and it's so relevant because that news reporter in the movie is a news reporter today. Like he totally cares more about like going into the kid's house later on in the movie and like
Tell me you got that. Yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
totally.
Like, and you would think like in news media, like they would have been like, oh, we don't want to be like that anymore.
No,
It's almost like it's totally
right. It's untouched.
further
Yeah.
down that road.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so like Bruce Willis is sending everybody off. He has no help. And like when I was watching the movie, because I've never seen it, I was like, this is an era where he can't text for help.
No,
right?
there's no cell phones.
There's no cell phone.
no,
So I'm like, fuck, how is he? Like,
He has a walkie-talkie.
I'm always trying to figure. I don't know why I do this when I watch a movie. I do two things. I'm always trying to figure out where we're going next.
Okay.
And then I'm always on IMDb like, oh, wasn't he in? You know?
Are you really?
Do you do
See,
that?
I don't do that.
You don't like watch the movie and see
While,
the guy
while
come
I'm
up.
watching, no, I try and
pause
just watch.
I pause everything.
Right. See, yeah, I don't.
I pause everything.
So you ruin the experience, is what you're saying.
To a degree, I pause the experience. And I'm like, oh yeah, he was in Ghostbusters, and then we could pick back
I
up.
knew I've seen him before. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
he's an actor. Probably
Right.
you've seen him in a few things.
It's not really about this film.
Do you know what I do sometimes though with some of the actors? I'm like, I think he did a 90210 because so many people.
Do you really?
So
We had a
many
lot.
guest actors did 90210.
I know.
Like the dude. This is not Die Hard, but the dude. Do you remember in Christmas Vacation? Todd and Margot are the couple next door. It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus and a guy. The guy
Yeah.
did a 90210.
Did he really?
Yeah, but but
I love that this is somehow coming back to that.
I was like, I knew his face from something.
Did you
And then
really?
I scrolled,
And then you went straight to
and
IMDb?
I was like, oh yeah, he did.
There he is, yeah.
Yeah, he totally did that. Oh, he was the. There's an episode of 90210 where like they're shooting a porno.
What? Oh my
Steve,
God,
of
this is a whole nother episode.
I'm sorry to go down this road, but
Right.
Steve is shooting a. I mean, I'm a 90210 super fan, so
Yes,
sometimes it comes up.
sure, yeah.
But anyway, he's the porno director.
Okay.
And
Steve
Brandon,
is?
No, this actor.
Jesus,
Todd.
I do not remember any of this.
Yeah, yeah. We got to add 90210 to the things that you've never seen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. When we do 90, if we do, we're not doing 90210 because I would have to watch 300 episodes of that show.
One of
Forget
our
it.
pivotal episodes of this will be like, I finally got you to watch it. There's so many people that were launched. I feel like from this movie.
From Die Hard.
Yeah.
It was a massive career.
Reginald Vel Johnson.
Yeah.
Is the which I want to talk about because I love the sequence of Reginald Vel Johnson. His name is Sergeant Al, I think.
Right. Yeah.
He's coming to just do like he doesn't even like it's Christmas Eve. He doesn't want to fucking do this.
No.
You know?
He's got the Twinkies. He's got all the
wants to go
stuff.
home.
Right.
You know what I mean? He goes in.
He circles around. He's backing up, and then John starts shooting
he
through the
goes
window.
He goes in and he talks to one of the bad guys, and the bad guy does such an incredible job of convincing him that he's like, fuck it, like this is all good. Until the guy
The shit goes down. And he's shooting through the fucking window, shooting at the car, and it's backing up, and it backs off the side in the ramp, and it's stuck in the thing.
I
and
love it. I love it. But you like he has such a he is such a good heart on camera like the way he cares about what's going on in the building and
Yeah.
talking, and he's so like intuitive to know that Bruce Willis's character is a cop.
He's a
And he
cop.
can he's the smarter cop, right? Because when
Yeah.
the principal comes in, you know what I mean?
principal.
You know, yeah. But when the Breakfast Club principal
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
in and he's all hot, like he has no clue what's going on. He spent no time at this location.
Right.
He's just doing.
Remember when he gets on the walkie with that? So the walkie-talkie was such a great story concept because it kept so much alive. Like you said, during a time when there were no cell phones, when there wasn't any of that, to have a walkie-talkie, something as simple as that could then connect everyone within the building.
Dude.
It connected him to Hans. It connected him to Al outside and
Yes.
the police. So he wasn't alone through the film.
But I
Even though
couldn't-
he was alone in the rooms,
Yes.
he wasn't alone. He still had so
I
much
couldn't
dialogue
figure out
and
how
things.
they were going to do that. Like how they were going to, because I'm thinking like it's 2024. If this happened to someone, they'd be texting, they'd
Totally.
be
Oh, yeah.
the whole
It'd be
thing.
easy.
But nowadays it's like, but then it's like, how are they going to actually? How is he going to get anyone's attention? And I guess which will also maybe be hard for young people to understand, like through the radio dial, he's able to get
Choose
to,
a number and,
and like he gets.
So see, I am still very aware of walkie-talkies and all that because we use them on sets.
Yeah, for sure.
All the ADs have them. Everybody's
valid.
communicating.
Yeah, that's
that way.
valid.
Nobody's texting, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with police. It's the same thing with truckers
Sure.
driving cross country.
But I
They're
feel
all
like maybe in this
communicating.
generation, if you're a social media kid, you might be like,
Don't exist.
What's that thing that they're
Yeah,
using? Like,
absolutely.
I've never seen that before,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, two-way radios don't.
Yeah, but anyway, and then of course they get the dispatch, and the woman at dispatch thinks he's crazy, thinks this guy is crazy.
Sir, this line is held for emergencies only.
Yeah.
He's, what do you think? I'm ordering a fucking pizza?
Right,
Remember that?
all of that stuff, by
Yeah,
the way,
it's so great.
that he does,
Yeah.
like, is so funny, and this guy feels like someone that you might know.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, he's a cop friend of yours that you know, and
Totally.
fucking shit.
Yeah.
He got caught up in this whole thing.
For sure.
And, like, he's saying all this shit, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, dude, I love this guy, you know? And well, obviously, the reason why we love this movie so much is, yes, the action sequences are great, and yes, the cop is great, but it is Bruce Willis that kind of like...
He's the glue. He's the reason you watch that movie. He's so he's just so appealing to watch. Like he's so good at what he was doing.
Yeah. Now you said you worked with the woman that played his...
With Bonnie Bedelia, yeah, who played his wife in the
Yeah,
film.
she's also great, by the way.
I ended up doing in the 90s when Movie of the Weeks were a thing. Remember those? They
Yeah,
were
for
on
sure.
network
For
TV.
sure.
And now it's just all Lifetime and Hallmark that has them, and they're majority Christmas movies.
I know.
Like even during summer,
It's
it's like, oh, Santa's coming.
Christmas in July.
Santa's coming to town to
like,
water
why would
ski
he?
today.
Like, why? Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I worked with Bonnie. She was fantastic. She was amazing. And it was so cool at that point because it was like, you were in Die Hard.
Yeah, but did you did you say things like that? Like
To her?
Yeah.
No. I said them in my head.
Right. Yeah.
In my because I was in my 20s. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't go, hey, I loved you in Die Hard. Like there was,
But
know.
you're a big Die
I was
Hard
so
fan,
cool.
too, so
I was
like,
like,
yeah.
I was a 90210 guy.
Yeah.
So I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna put myself on the same level as her. You know?
Yeah, no, you had to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But
was-
I'm
it was a
sure
power move.
the interview was just like, holy shit, like, has so many questions.
Dude, the inner me squeals constantly.
Yeah.
When I'm meeting people.
Same. Yeah, all the time. Like, even hanging out here with you. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so she's amazing in this movie.
She's so
and there
good.
is like a love story thing, like where she realizes
It's a
like,
rekindling of their romance.
he's doing this. Like
Yeah.
he's the only reason why those 30 hostages, just in case
Why
you
they
haven't seen,
survived.
yeah, like that. There's
Spoiler
30,
alert.
There's 30
They make it.
hostages. You know, they're
Majority of them.
yeah.
There are
Well,
a couple that go.
well, that's one thing I wanted to bring up. This guy Ellis, that's the character's name.
The cocaine
The
guy.
cocaine guy. Like
Yeah.
I also love that cocaine. Like then I was like, well, the guy's doing a line of cocaine. Is that in a Christmas movie? Like does that
Right, totally.
Like
Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight.
this
That guy. Yeah, he was great.
And I'm like so annoyed by this guy because
so
I'm like,
good.
he's so good, but I'm like, oh, he's gonna fuck up everything. He's gonna say that the wife's in, like I just
Yeah.
think he's gonna sell everything out.
Sure.
But
Fucking cocaine's a hell of a drug, man.
he was fucking
Rick
lit.
James said it.
Yeah, and he was lit, and then he was dead. Like,
Yeah, he didn't last very long.
His-
He went in, they were pouring him the Coke, remember? And he thought he was so cool on the walkie-talkie.
Yeah. Oh, right. He had.
Yeah.
He's like, I've sold.
John, I need your help here, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, he's like
He's
making
doing all of
faces.
that stuff.
He's doing
And I'm
all
sure
this
you've
stuff.
known a lot of those guys in Hollywood, by
Yeah.
the way, right? I'm sure you've met a few of those guys.
Yeah, I have.
And so it's kind of nice. Like, there is sort of something like what they were able to do in the movie is like you totally want that guy to get shot.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like, even you don't know what he's doing, but he's fucking it all up, and he's ruining John McClane's
They're
thing.
gonna kill me if you don't help. Mm-hmm. And then he looks to see,
I just
like,
love
yeah,
when,
it was a good
when
touch,
he, when,
right?
like,
And he just
when he
gets
sells
fucking
him out.
capped.
He's like, I don't know him. I just met him at the party
Yeah.
today. Like, I don't know
Bang.
what he's doing. Boom.
You know what I loved that I didn't notice for the first time, but I just noticed it again when I was watching. So that movie was really well directed,
Yes.
but I loved the fact that they had scenes with Alan after he had shot Ellis, and Ellis's body was still there in the chair, and you could see like the blood on the back of his
I
head.
missed that.
And they're shooting past like his bloody head and stuff to Alan still talking to John McClane. It was so great. It was like
Yeah.
way to keep that alive and keep the tension of that of like what I'm
Yeah.
capable of doing. Like I'm not the one to fuck with. It was so expertly.
Oh,
like,
well, I mean,
expertly put together.
that's the thing, too, where I'm like, why is this such a great Christmas movie or a great movie? It's like, it's well written, it's well directed, and it's well acted.
It's really well directed.
You know, like the sequence, the action sequences, blowing things up, it all kind of like makes sense, and you want to see it. Like, you want to feel the relief of he did another thing. You know what I mean?
You got to
And-
think too. That was during a time when like CG wasn't around.
Dude, this
Like,
is
there was-
all being done. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like it's a
Yeah.
totally different time period. Yeah.
Remember the part when John puts the chair with the C4 down the elevator shaft and there's the explosion, and it blows up the entire bottom floor, and the guy and what's his name, the principal from
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club is like, you know, my guys are all down here and they're covered in glass. And John's like, glass? Who the fuck cares about glass?
I've got 100 people down here, and they're covered with glass.
Glass? Who gives a shit about glass? Who the fuck is this?
I love that they kept comedic elements in it. Like, as serious as that movie was and as high as the
Yeah.
stakes were, that they kept those really simple things just to show what a fucking dummy this character was.
And
of
like,
like, you know,
and
that,
in the,
that
in
was
that
on.
movies that made us, this went through a few rewrites.
Yeah.
Because like,
Understandably.
like there was none of that initially
Right.
in that movie.
Yeah.
There was no.
It was super serious.
And they like fired the writer. The writer is in that series. If you watch the movies that made us, and then they hired another writer who got all of Bruce Willis's timing and whatnot, and like I feel like he was like literally writing it while they were making the movie.
Right. It'd be funny, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's glass everywhere. We
Yeah.
should totally, and he put it in.
And he put it in. Like, I mean, so
Yeah.
it's like, it just goes to show you how movies are made sometimes.
Yeah.
The big scene for me is like when Bruce Willis and Hans, or
when they meet each
up.
other, and so Alan was fucking great at playing. No, don't shoot
Yeah.
me, don't.
Yeah.
You know, like playing a normal guy.
I had
and
no
then
idea this was going to happen, by the way. So for me,
And then the gun thing where Bruce gives him the gun,
and you
all of a
almost
sudden he
feel
turns
like
back into
fuck and
Hans.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, how is he going to get out of this situation? I kept thinking like, how is John going to get out of this situation?
Right.
And like I'm like, holy shit, he's with the bad. Like, this is the guy.
Right.
Like, what's going to happen here? But it's so
no
good.
bullets. Remember
Yeah.
that? Oh, that's so fucking great. It was the first time Hans had a visual of who
this
John
guy is.
McClane was,
Yeah.
which then tied into the picture and his wife and the whole. Like it was a catalyst in the film. A lot happened from that point
Yeah.
forward, but there was no way to accomplish that when you have this lone gunman hiding out in a building, unless the mastermind behind all of it sees him face to face and is then able to put puzzle pieces together and make sense of it all.
Yeah. It's a big scene.
It
I
was
love
really
it.
well thought. That story was really well thought out. It was
That's the thing that
really
like,
well fleshed out.
Where for me, who's never seen it, but has known of a bunch of action movies, I'm always like, oh, it's just another action movie. But It's actually not.
It was really good,
It's
which is why they made like 14 of them
like
afterwards.
there's so much story and heart and whatnot, and like you get behind very quickly what he's trying to do and who he's trying to save and who he's trying to protect in terms of the ex-wife and the relationship that he's building with this cop via, the walkie-talkie.
Right.
And there's just like it really starts to build into this thing, and then we start seeing things start blowing up and all that stuff. Now you've been in action movies.
I have.
And
Yes.
you directed an action episode of 90210.
I did.
And you blew up a
Fucking oddly enough, like I remember I got the script and I was like, holy shit, I've got action.
you
in
blew
this.
up a bus
plane?
or a car.
A bus. No, it was a van.
Yeah.
It was so originally it was a plane, and then they realized like we don't have the budget for that, so it ended up being a van.
Right. But so you've directed that. You've
Yeah.
been in that.
Yeah.
And you probably love this. What is it like to be a part of like making that?
It's stressful. So you've got to think when you're doing these like big, especially like explosions, you're setting up cameras that don't have monitors necessarily. You're not really like behind a bank of monitors, and especially during that time, 90s when we were doing the show, when they did Die Hard, you don't have a bank of monitors where you're seeing what every single camera is doing. So you're kind of setting up and you're going, and you don't know where how the explosion is actually going to happen, how it's going to look, what part of the frame it's going to fill. So you're kind of setting cameras around with shots going, okay, I think that this is going to be a good shot. And you only get one
I was
chance
gonna say
usually
it's not
to
like
do
you have
it.
10 vans to blow up
No.
or the top of a building.
We had one, so it was like
You gotta
do
get
a
it right.
countdown, 3, 2, 1. They filled the whole thing with what, and they blow it, and then you're watching, but then you have these happy accidents. Like I remember on 90210, we had this little fire devil that came up out of nowhere that was like this little sort of tornado of
dope.
fire
Yeah.
that traveled across, and it was on like 2 different cameras. So I was like, oh my god, we got to keep that going then.
For
like,
sure.
So you have these happy accidents that happen.
Because you
but
don't know what's going to happen when you explode something.
there are
out.
also times where they go and you go, I missed it. I didn't get it. Like that wasn't.
What about
So-
from the acting perspective? Like having to do all those, like there's the whole thing of like Alan Rickman falling off the building and all that.
So I remember in that How Movies Were Made thing, that Netflix series, they talked about they had him on a platform and it was all green screen underneath him, so they could have the building and all the stuff what he was falling into. But they were supposed to do a countdown. It was like a 3, 2, 1, and then the watch slips off his hand and then he falls. They started the countdown, but they dropped him before they got to 1. So his expression was real because he wasn't expecting to be falling at that time.
Yeah, it's super cool, and the slow-mo
super
shot
cool.
that they got is really awesome.
It's great.
And look, like you said, it's not CGI, it's not any of the stuff that is today. So it's like
was
blue
real.
screen. He's being dropped 40 feet from something into a blue whatever the
Yeah, no, it was an
bed.
airbag.
Yeah, but so it's not like what they might do today, but it looks so cool. Alan Rickman is like totally selling it because he's legitimately
legitimately in it.
But have you shot anything like that where you were like pulling from the sky or anything like that,
So I got to do some fun stuff on Terminator.
That's what
when
I
we
thought,
were doing that,
yeah.
like rappelling down like elevator shafts and stuff like that, which was super fun because that was like you had a guy in the rope and it was like, okay, this is how you did, and then we were actually rappelling, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never done big stuff like that.
It's
you would have to
crazy, dude.
speak to the Marvel kids.
No, it's crazy. Like, I mean, when you see what they were able to do in that era, exploding the roof and getting people off the roof and like all of this, it's like it's so well done and all of it makes sense. It's not like they don't just blow up something for the purpose of blowing it up. Like it actually leads to a really pivotal part of the story. Like you need to have the thing blown up and and so. Back to the beginning of this, like, is it a Christmas movie? But when you wrap up this movie, right, it's like there is heartwarming Christmas. Like, even the limo driver gets in on the action.
And there's fucking Christmas music that plays throughout.
Right,
There's
the
like
RNDMC song
half of
is
the score is Christmas.
all Christmas music, and it's all well orchestrated Christmas music. And so, like, the ending of
He
it.
even writes on the first guy that he kills, "Ho ho ho" on his sweatshirt.
Yes. Yes.
I've got a machine gun. So it's all like Christmas is referenced throughout.
It's
the film.
totally. This is totally a Christmas movie. It is an adult Christmas movie for sure. It's not like I would not have your young kid watch, like on the list of Christmas movies, you wouldn't be like, okay,
Right.
Home Alone.
We're gonna watch Die Hard, right?
Snoopy's or the Peanuts Christmas.
Right.
And
The Conjuring, that happened during Christmas, didn't it?
And Die Hard.
Let's watch that.
Like I probably wouldn't put that one on the list, but if you are drinking a Guinness like we are here, or an eggnog, a spiked eggnog,
or a fucking Hobbit size.
it is an adult, like an awesome adult's Christmas
It's
story.
a holiday film.
Dude, he like winds up with the girl. Sorry.
You have the confetti coming down at the end, which
He
seems
even-
like it's snowing.
It almost
like it's
feels like him and Sergeant Al's.
they have a love story also. Yeah, yeah. They have a bromance.
It's
that
almost
happens.
more of the bromance is almost more important than the romance.
Oh, it totally is. You get to the end, and when they hug for the first time, it's like you're like, oh,
Dude,
you feel all warm and fuzzy.
I got teary-eyed.
Did you?
when he hugged Reginald Val Johnson more than the wife. I was like, I'm still not over this fucking changing the last name shit. You know what I mean? But when he hugs, because there's no history. It's just like, dude, you helped talk me off the ledge when I needed you.
Right, you
and
were there for me.
We're tight. We're super tight. You know
were
what I
there
mean?
for me.
And then that little like twist at the end where you think it's all over, and
And then he comes out with the gun, and then
Yeah.
Reginald shoots him, and
yeah, because there's
It's
that
fucking
whole
great.
bit about like Reginald's
I
character.
killed the cop,
Yeah.
or I killed the kid, and I'd never gotten
So
over it.
from the
and-
beginning of this, I say this is a Christmas movie. Question one: would you recommend after rewatching it?
Yeah.
Would you say to someone like, "I'm thinking about watching Die Hard"? Would you
I
recommend it?
I would absolutely I loved Die Hard. I thought it was so well done. It was just masterfully created, super fun to watch, incredible performances, incredible stunts, great script. Everybody was just on their A game in that one. So I would personally, like, 10 out of 10 recommend that to anybody. Like,
All right,
if
so
you're
and I
into
agree.
action films,
I
it
actually
is-
think
it's hands down
I,
one of the
I
best.
actually think I would recommend that to anybody. I wouldn't recommend it to a little kid, but I would recommend it to an adult. That's like, if you've never seen it, I would see it because it's
Check it
a
out.
really good fucking movie. Now, does it still hold up all these years later?
Oh, dude, for sure. I think it is more impressive now because now you know what is possible in film, and you realize from watching that where we still were and what was possible and what it is they accomplished with that. It's like watching the first Star Wars, where you're like, oh my God, how
I've never
did
seen
they?
Star Wars, so
Okay, we'll get into that one.
yeah. But I
That's
also
unbelievable to me.
yeah. I mean,
That's almost the death of this. Just so you guys all know.
no. But I'm going to. I would recommend it. I would say that it still holds up. I'd say that younger people today watching it will be like confused, like, what's a phone line? Why are they in a limo? Like, what's that thing they're talking to? So there'll be some of those things.
Again,
that,
we're not fans of young people anyway, so it doesn't matter.
There'll
We're
be-
not,
but there'll be
making this show for young
Some
people.
of those things where they're asking, what is that, or why did they do that?
Right.
For sure.
Sure.
But like, it still holds
You
up.
got to get over that.
You
Like,
have to get over it.
If you're a true like movie lover, you have to get over that, and you have to watch it for the time period it was made and what it represents.
Yeah.
And what it represented at that time, and to me, the movie's genius. Say
All right.
what
In
you
movie
thought of
act,
it.
5 stars. What would you give Die Hard?
I'd give it a 5. I mean, it's
That's
up there
a-
at the top
that's,
of.
That's a really.
But
big-
it's up there at
okay.
the top of my list for action films. T2 is one of them.
Okay.
Die Hard is one of them. Like to me, Die Hard was a trailblazer of a movie as far as action films. Like, it really broadened my mind to what was possible in action films. There wasn't a lot of stuff before that holds the same weight in my mind.
It does
as
sort of
that film.
reinvent the action film,
It
right?
does, yeah.
Like, and I do love. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, only
Okay.
because just to be,
I'll judge you for it, but okay.
just because I feel like maybe it's a little bit dated.
Okay.
There's some elements that are slightly dated, but
Right.
But I will say, like,
You're one of those.
They took the.
You're one of those that like would watch Pixar movies or like Charlie Brown movies and go, No, 2-star.
No,
Charlie Brown shouldn't have slipped
Charlie
when
Brown
he was
is a 5.
trying to kick the football. That's ridiculous.
No, that's a 5 out of 5.
It wasn't that slippery
5
outside. That's no way. What was that, black ice that he was running on? Now he didn't see that Peppermint Patty was gonna, or that Lucy was gonna pull the football
No.
again.
That's a 5 out of 5 to me. But okay. So
Winnie the Pooh should not have loved honey that much.
maybe so many things in this where you're like, they took the tropes. Is that the word? Tropes. I think that's the word. Of action films.
Yeah.
And they spun them on its head. Like even the dude, the principal from the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Like they put a character in there like that to make him wrong about everything.
Dude, how about the 2 FBI guys that were in the helicopter?
We didn't mention that.
And he was, and the one guy was like, okay, so we're gonna take out all the thing, and we'll probably lose like 25% of the hostages. And the other guy was like, I'm cool with that. Like, I loved.
Well, everybody that dies in the movie, except for like the beginning, you actually kind of want to see everybody die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'd be
Like
fun.
when that would be fun. If the
Ellis,
helicopter-
yeah, shoot him in the head. Like,
You're
let's
thinking
come on.
you're thinking to yourself like, oh, I hope
me
the
the payoff.
helicopter explodes.
Right.
Like because these guys are they're
Yeah.
totally assholes. They deserve
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
totally.
But I loved it, and I would say for anybody that's like, oh, is it a Christmas movie? You got to get your shit together because this is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie, I think.
It's totally a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And
It's an adult Christmas movie.
For sure.
But that's.
But also,
Who said that genre has to be just about kids?
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
No. I mean, because if you look at it, like, so many of the movies that are Christmas movies today, like the Hallmark Christmas movies,
Yeah.
are geared towards probably a female audience, right? So this is a Christmas
They're
movie.
romance.
Adult,
Action.
male audience. Like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with that?
Right.
Why
Totally.
is that not allowed to?
Home Alone is a great.
Oh,
That's a great
it
distinction
connects
between the two.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What is your favorite all-time Christmas movie? Is it
God.
Die Hard?
No, I mean I would probably have to go more of a classic Christmas movie and do like How the Grinch Stole Christmas or something like that. Just because to me, like the ultimate Christmas movies are the ones that take me back to the feeling of being a kid with
Sure.
Christmas.
For me, it's Charlie Brown Christmas, because
Right.
to me that has all of the elements.
Dude,
of,
The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, I watched like 5 times when it was Halloween.
Yeah, I
couldn't-
just can't get enough of that one
Yeah.
because I feel like there's so much about like being upset during Christmas or depressed during, like Charlie Brown is. I mean, subtly, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in a way, and like
And
finding happiness.
Don't think that I didn't buy a Charlie Brown Christmas tree when they were for sale with the Linus
love
blanket
it.
that went under the
Yeah.
and the one like ball
I
that
love
kind of
it.
went on it that made the whole thing lean over.
Yeah. So to me, that's it. But
Massive
like,
fan.
I know audiences love Home Alone, The Christmas Vacation,
Die
even
Hard
the
should
other
be up
Die
there.
Hard. It should be on there.
Yeah.
A Christmas Story. All those like really great ones. So I
Yeah.
can't wait to like do next year and see like what another
know.
one of these.
I know.
Right? All right, this has been great, man.
Dude, Merry Christmas,
Merry
man.
Christmas, yeah.
And welcome to everyone that watches this. We're gonna bring you a few of these a month. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna have some fun with some shows and some films. Reach out to us on social media or on YouTube and let us know what you think, or join in on the conversation. Suggest some films, some TV shows, because we're gonna need them.
And we like bold, strong opinions. So if
Yeah.
you feel like
Oh my
anything
God!
we just
Challenge
said
us, please.
about this
Especially challenge this guy. he gave Die Hard a 4.
I'm sorry, but if you feel like I'm an asshole for that, just say that. You know, like we want to know. Like,
You're an asshole for it, I think.
Thank you.
You said to say it.
No,
so
I
I'm
did.
just
I
gonna
did
say
say
it.
it. But like, what do you think of this Christmas movie? Is it a Christmas movie? If you're like really against that, say it. We want to know everything. But thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
First Rewind.